Hey, what's up, guys? Sean here with BlueRidgeSilverhound. All right, we got another pocket change market report to dive into today. I'm excited. A lot of good stuff to be found out there in circulation. Furthermore, a lot of these coins can also be found at your local coin shop or coin show. If you have one of those and you kind of like to, inhabit one of those places on a weekend, yeah, a lot of good errors and varieties. Like I said, there's a few of them that we haven't seen before, but also some of the usual suspects, including a few brand new 2022s. Wait, let me revise that. I have one 2022 quarter error that we are going to take a look. Is the market still performing like it was the first few weeks when this coin came out? We're going to see. Along with a host of other cherry picks and finds and whatnot. Now, a lot of the coins also are found via going through pocket change. Coin roll hunting is a popular activity with a lot of folks that want to enhance their collection without paying too much money. Keep in mind, when you go to a bank and ask for rolls, you're pretty much, playing with house money. And that's not a bad thing. And that's why coin roll hunting is one of the preferred activities for beginning, I guess, numismatists. Yeah, a lot of interesting things can be found from various varieties, double dies, repunchment marks, and some pretty cool transitionals, things of that nature. But yeah, the market's still going strong. As I would expect, it's aligning very well with not only the numismatics market all across the board, but also the precious metals market, which we've seen that go up. So people are definitely paying more money for certain coins that we've seen in the past not sell for nearly as much as we've seen today. But you could also see the overall sentiment in the hobby is pushing really into collectible pieces, stuff that over time will just either enhance in value or it's going to kind of guarantee how much you paid for it when you go to sell it. All right, so one thing that you guys need to know, every coin in here is raw. We don't talk about graded coins because it does cost quite a bit of money. Adam Chambers actually told me just after a conversation with one of the graders at the Colorado Springs show. So if you're in the area, they got a show going on in Colorado Springs. That PCGS just charges $65 for an error attribution and nothing else. But still, it's pricey. Okay, you got to factor in shipping and all that great stuff. It could get pretty pricey. And then last point I wanted to note here is that all the coins, coin images, are directly from the seller listings, and nothing's been modified except maybe a little cropping. So we can get the images on screen a little bit better for you. But I didn't lighten anything, I didn't darken anything, I didn't sharpen anything. You're getting true to life imagery here. You might even get a little photography lesson as we go. We'll see. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. We have 35 total listings to talk about, including this bad boy right here, which is our subject coin of the week. 1982p Washington quarter. As you can see, this was a tale of two coins here. It's the same coin, but the reverse looks completely normal. But check out the obverse. It's a nice copper color with a nice striation of whatever that darker gray is. And what we have here is a coin that was struck on a planchet that was missing its nickel layer. All right, so it's missing a clad layer. So obviously you're just going to have a really nice, coppery one-sided part of the coin. And then you're going to have the traditional nickel-colored silvery reverse on there. Yeah, these do pop up and change on occasion. I've probably found a good dozen or so over the years. They are an interesting find, and believe it or not, they carry a lot of value. This one right here was raw. Not surprising, considering that these are an easy sell raw because they're they're easy to diagnose. This one in particular did end up selling for $168.55. So definitely check out for these, especially if you hunt through a lot of dimes, quarters, and half dollars. The opportunity that you'll come across these is pretty long odds wise, but once you do find one, it's going to surprise you, and the overall value is going to surprise you as well. All right, we got the usual off-center strikes. Of course, we're going to talk about this one here, a Lincoln Memorial cent that has no date on there, and that matters to a lot of collectors that want to buy these because they do collect them by date. But as far as just having an example of this really nice off-center strike, that I would say is about 75% off-center. If date doesn't matter to you, you just need an example. This would be a good one here. But it is reflected in its value. This one sold for $12.98. Taking nothing away other than the fact that it does have a little carbon spotting on the obverse of the coin that is notable for its condition. All right, we do have a little paper money on the list. We're going to start off a little bit slow here with this 1977 $20 bill. All right, you'll notice here on the left-hand side of the note that we have a little bit of a wet ink transfer error. All right, this is something that we encounter more in much older notes. You do come across them on occasion. I found a few of them in my time. Not so much anymore, especially with the newer technologies being used at the BEP. Kind of eliminates things like this. But yeah, on the impression cylinder, there was a little bit of residue touching from the plate area, and it gets transferred onto a note when it's printed. The back of the note, of course, is clean as you would expect on here. This one right here is sold for $73.98. Again, another good one to look out for in the wild if you could still find some of these older small head notes. And here's another off-center struck coin. This one is about 80-85% off-center. It's in much better condition. And this is indeed a copper-coated zinc. All right, you can see the split plating, which is extremely razor thin on these coins. So, you know, keep in mind that storage will be a thing if you did buy this. It does have a few little scratches on the reverse, but nothing that I would say is like a game breaker on this one. This sold for $19.44 with 7 bids. Now, if you're like me, I love cherry picking through just bulk Indian head cents. And the big reason why is you could come across something like this. Now, this is not a pretty 1906 Indian head cent, but what it does have, if you look at the reverse, it's got a pretty substantial delamination. So the lamination piece is completely gone from this one. And yeah, it's a pretty radical looking error, but to some dealers, this really just doesn't interest them too much. Because the overall condition of the coin is not that great. But you could turn a little bit of trash into treasure when you cherry pick something like this. And this one sold for $36 with 14 bids, which is a really strong seller. But also, given the fact that, you know, this is a coin that is, again, overlooked by some of the bigger players in the game, mainly dealers and all that. This would be a great cherry pick for a lot of entry-level collectors and treasure seekers. All right, we got a relatively newer coin here. How about a 2021 Lincoln Shield cent? Now, this one right here is off-center by about 10%, which is pretty considerable, you know, given the date. You know, normally you wouldn't find things like these, but there have been quite a few 2019, 20, and 21s off-center like this that have been found in rolls. More surprising is that they come up quite frequently. This one right here ended up selling for $37.50 through 2 bids. So that's an outstanding sell right there. And up next, we have a 1990 Lincoln Memorial cent. This one, as you can tell, has a broad strike error. The coin is a lot bigger than what a traditional Lincoln cent is. And again, that collar wasn't properly seated during the strike. Maybe there was a malfunction. It didn't go up into its normal position. The collar is what keeps the coin in the strike, but when it's not there, all that extra metal flow goes outwards. So think about like smushing down a ball of Play-Doh with your thumb. Okay, all that extra material goes outwards. This one right here sold for $9.79 with 8 bids. A relatively common occurrence in these earlier Lincolns. All right, nothing pretty substantial here other than it's a 1965 Lincoln Memorial cent with a curved clip. All right, and we do have a little bit of a Blakesley effect on this opposite edge right here. You can see a little weakness in the word trust, which helps support that quite a bit. Good looking coin. I mean, these are collected by date as well. This one sold for an easy $20 bill. I would say I would take that trade all day long. All right, more paper money. This time a little bit of silver certificate action. All right, so what do we know here? This is a star note, and we know that star notes are replacement notes for notes that were damaged during production. The ultimate irony of this one is that it's a star note error. You can see the misalignment of both the major front print and the reverse print as well, while the third print is centered on the subject note. Pretty cool. Again, an error star note is highly desired on the secondary market, and this one right here, in its current condition, which is not fantastic, did sell for $70.39. All right, now we do have another piece of currency here. However, I wish the seller would have done a better job kind of flattening this thing out, but just putting it in between like 2 books for a day will take care of that and make this one more presentable for photography. So that's something to keep in mind with currency. At this stage of the game where it's been circulated, it really won't matter if you flatten it. Do not iron these, all right, because that's going to ruin the integrity of the paper. Little pro tip for you guys. The paper will become flimsy, and they'll get a net grade, and collectors don't like those. But we do have a little bit more recent note here, a 1988 dollar bill with a gutter fold. You can see that right there in the middle of the note, just to the left of Washington's portrait. Now, this sheet had a wrinkle in it, and it was overprinted, so that's kind of like the byproduct of what you're seeing here. And then when we look at the back as well, no gutter, which means the wrinkle was eventually kind of stretched out prior to the back print being applied to this note, which is notable. So because most of the time you'll see gutter on both sides, which means that never got addressed. Just an overall very interesting note right here, even circulated, still managed to sell for $36.65 with 3 bids. Now here's a little bit more tougher date of off-center strike Lincoln. This is a 1989 P, Philadelphia Minted Lincoln Memorial. Not in the best of shapes, but when a certain date comes onto the market, you just don't see it that often, maybe once every few months. There's going to be a lot more interest and activity on it. This one right here ended up selling for $50.79 through 22 bids. I can honestly say this might be the first 89 that I've seen and talked about on the market in probably 6 months. That's how infrequently this particular date comes up. Now, compared to that quarter, the number one coin that we saw today, we have another coin here that looks a little funny. It's a Jefferson Nickel, that's obvious. It's a 1981 P. There's just enough of the date and a full mint mark to give us that information. However, the coin is struck a lot smaller, and it's got a coppery color. Okay, so this one was actually struck on a planchet intended for a Lincoln cent, and it's a bronze pre-1982 composition. So it's a pretty neat coin right here. These will either pop up in either nickel rolls or penny rolls. And again, they'll surprise the heck out of you when you do come across one. This one right here has circulated quite a bit too, which is kind of strange, considering that these really do stick out like a sore thumb. A nickel that's bronze in color will gain your attention. This one sold for $139.50 with 17 bids. There's a weight of the coin, 3.07, which is the tolerance level for a bronze Lincoln planchet. And a little side-by-side comparison to a standard nickel. You can see that not only is the coin a little bit smaller, but it's also a little thinner as well. Just even looking at this picture, you can tell that the error coin in question is thinner. All right, so this is actually a very cool coin, and it not only is a wartime silver, the 44p with the big giant mint mark on the reverse there, but yeah, it's a pretty well-worn coin. Aside from that, it's really not going to gain too much attention based off of the outward looks of the coin, but on its edge, this is a clamshell lamination. It's got a split right down the very edge of the coin. Looks like maybe it might have been helped along a little bit for the sake of photography, but whatever you do, do not split this in half. And this one sold for $19.99, which I kind of think is a low amount of money for this clamshell. Now here's a 3-coin Lincoln or Jefferson Nickel lot. Sorry about that. All with a different error. We have a 1941D with a lamination peel, top coin. 63 is the bottom left coin, and that one does have a just a shallow clip. And then the final coin is it's a 1981, I think, Jefferson Nickel with a obverse strike through. It looks like it wasn't struck through a cap die, but more so just a lot of grease. Because you do have a pretty nice strong area to the right there where it says Liberty and the date. But all in all, just a really nice starter lot that sold for $24.99. Oh, now this one's cool. This is probably the first time that I've talked about this particular coin here, 2015 Lincoln Shield cent. And if you look on the reverse, it's got a pretty substantial sized die chip right on top of the shield. This is kind of like the more later advanced stage of this progression. I've seen a lot of like really small die chips in this area, which is a commonplace for these. This one right here sold for $18.25. It could have sold for a lot more, but I think because the seller used the front of the coin as the main focal point for the listing, that probably damaged its opportunity for this thing to sell over, like, say, 20 or 30 bucks, which it had every opportunity to, given the size of that die chip. And this one's cool, too. This is one that's been on my my personal kind of hit list when I'm going through Lincoln cent bags. It's going to be this 1949 RPM. So it's a repunchment mark, triple S, S over S over S. It's highlighted by the mint mark looking like it's been smeared across the coin, which is pretty cool. Upon closer examination, you can see the extra S punches are to the west of the primary mint. There are 3 of them, trust me. Coin's in pretty decent shape. Again, another tough one out there. It's one that sold for $44 with 34 bids, which is a very strong amount of money for this one. All right, we got more currency. This is a 2006 $1 bill. Yeah, spoiler, it's a newer note, all right? The serial number looks neat, although that 1-4 kind of spoils things a little bit. But most importantly, you guys noticed the misalignment of that third print, how the serial numbers and the district seals are all cattywampus on there. And that's the big reason why that this one is on the list. The back of the note is pretty clean in this one. Surprisingly, this one ended up hammering or selling for $104.49, which I think is a very, very good amount of money for this error type. But also let you guys know that there's a lot of potential in currency hunting. And I did a video on that a few days ago about how coins are tougher to find, but dollar bills and all the other denominations are really, really accessible. So I encourage a lot of folks, if you can, check out going through paper money. You will not waste your time. Now, even beater coins get a little love too. How about Connecticut State Quarter, 1999? And I would assume this is a P mint, all right? Although it could be a Denver. But yeah, we have some pretty remarkable major strike-through action on the front of the coin. A lot of grease where it was on that die at one point to be able to not exactly strike up all the devices that you want here. This one sold for $10 through 8 bids. And here's an update on the 2022 Maya Angelou quarter. This one with the twig coming out there on the bird's beak, which is just a die gouge. All right, and there have been quite a few of these selling on the secondary market, and prices have been dropping. The overall interest is beginning to wane on these a little bit as the new Sally rides come out at the end of the month. As a matter of fact, I think a week or two from today. This one sold for $10.63 with 10 bids. I have noticed there have been a few listings that have sold for under $10. So we're beginning to see kind of like a $5 to $10 range for this error. Just a really nice 1983 Denver Jefferson Nickel, off-center by about 65%. It's a really nice BU condition coin. This one sold for $23.99. It's going to make a really good home in a date set. And of course, one of my favorite double dies, and probably yours as well, this is the 1995 Lincoln Memorial. This is the FS101 DDO, highlighted by strong doubling, and not only the motto, but the Liberty part of the coin shows a very, very nice wild doubling as well. And another big variety here. This was a 1972. It's a big date for doubled dies. This time we got DDO number 8 or FS108. The seller states that this one has a little bit of a rotated die reverse. Okay, so we got rotated dies here. Early die state. It has some of the strongest doubling on all features, the major stuff. The date, motto, and Liberty are all showing some of the strongest doubling, and always a really liquid coin to sell, especially a mid-state red. This one sold for $128.90. Well done. All right, if you don't know what you're looking at, you might be missing out. This is an 1898 Morgan dollar, and some would say, yeah, it looks like it's got a scuff on the obverse there, right on Liberty's face. But what that is it's actually a little trace bit of slag. So this is a strike through error in theory with that slag right there. And it's always like a dark looking smear on a coin. I found quite a few of these in my day. This one sold for $103.98. And even though this one here is on the list, it's an incredibly interesting coin, but it still doesn't really incentivize me personally, because the presidential dollar series was not really my thing because of how many was produced and how unspectacular the overall designs of these were. But if you guys are looking through these, there are a number of really great errors to look out for. This one has a pretty sizable die chip at the base of Mr. James Polk's bust, and it goes to the word president right there on the obverse of the coin. This one sold for $15.69 with 5 bids, so there were definitely some interested parties in this one. Now, these pictures aren't too great, but we have a 2-coin lot of 2020 American Samoa back quarters with the strike through on the reverse of the coin. You can see right there, they call this the blind bat quarter. There's a few people that actually had termed that this. But you can see that that hole right there on the left side of the bat's face from this perspective. The back of the obverse of the coins doesn't really show anything other than its spectacular condition. These are always quite popular, and this one, no doubt about it, for the 2 coins sold for $205, which for these, especially in much nicer condition, is probably worth it. And a lot more that do come out of the marketplace are pretty well circulated at this point. Speaking of circulated, how about a 2006P Nebraska Statehood quarter? Now, I've known about this one for quite a while, but there are pretty neat die chips that you can find on a lot of the Statehood quarter series. This is a pretty substantial one here that's on Chimney Rock, so please do look out for this. And they will pop up on Philadelphia Minted examples. This one sold for $11.18, and if you can find a few of them, I would gladly trade a $10 bill for these. Another big one here, 2019 Shield Cent. The coin looks absolutely clean, and that's exactly what you want to look out for. But it's the double the die obverse that you're seeing here with the much thicker digits in the date, and they're kind of like oblong. The 0 especially is killer in this one. A really good one to look out for. They're not particularly rare. With a little searching, you can find these. This one sold for $23.95. And it's probably been a few weeks since we've seen one of these, but we have another 2,000 piece Sacagawea dollar Wounded Eagle. Wow, one of my favorites. Always a consistently good seller. And then on the reverse where the eagle is, you notice there's a die gouge. That goes through the breast and into the wing. Now these are generally have two little die gouges. There's a little tiny one that's pretty worn off here, but yeah, always a good one to look out for. These are still, I would consider to be underrated as far as you know, the amount of searching that's gone on to look out for these. This one sold for $85, so still carrying quite a bit of value, but we're not seeing nearly as many on the open market than we were a few months ago. Now, I don't know how you could get 1959D as a date on this Lincoln Memorial, which was struck through a capped die, a much later stage, but maybe it just might be the overall lighting used. But there is a 1959D date on this one, which is good when you're able to see a remnant of a date and mint mark. This one right here sold through for $38.95. Just again, you know, when you have a coin with a strong reverse strike and a very weak obverse, that kind of helps you diagnose what kind of error you have in this case. And these do pop up in circulation. Now here's a really nice no date Washington quarter. It's off center by about 50%. However, you can see the mint mark. This is a Denver, which is relevant. You don't see these type of errors on Denver minted coins that often, but this one right here, we're willing to make a little extra special, I guess, conversation point because it is a Denver. This one sold for $60, which there are most full date Philadelphias that don't sell for $60. So this is definitely one to keep in the back of your mind. Maybe you find one of these at a coin show and they're asking $20-$30 for it. You can easily double or triple up your money if you do cherry pick one. All right, pretty cool. We have a four aces here. This is a uncut 4 sheet, or 4 up sheet rather. They don't make them 4 up, but they do cut them to this. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not the actual sheet that really gave this one a ton of value, but if you look at the third note down on the subject sheet, yeah, what do you guys notice? The prefix letters are mismatched. So you had, this is obviously an AH block for every single one of the notes. However, this third note, you see it has BH on one of the serial numbers, and that's a really cool mismatch error. This one right here sold for $715. Oftentimes you will just find these on singular notes, but we have a full sheet here, ladies and gentlemen, and because it has the error off of a sheet, that's where a lot of the value is associated with this. If it was a single note, it'd probably be worth $150 to $200 in crisp, uncirculated condition. So this is a really cool find, a really cool listing. I'm glad I was able to talk about it. Now, we've seen these before, and they're still out there. 2020p Jefferson Nickels with the field-restricted strike-throughs on the reverse. Now, these are correlated with the feeder fingers. They will, you know, have a little bit of that grease on there along with some other stuff, other debris, and they all mix together, and they'll end up on the dies. But this is a 3-coin progression set, believe it or not. Here's the first coin. You're getting 3 coins in here. And you can make the argument of, you know, what the actual, I guess, sequence. It is also a double to die reverse. You see that little spike right there? That's actually a doubling of the top arch of the door. But we have this one. You can see the feeder finger scratches as well. Here's the second progression. And then finally the third. All right, so... yeah, that little blob of grease has moved around a little bit, as you can tell from all 3. And they all have that same spike. All right, so it's from the same dies, which is cool. It helps kind of just that little doubling right there helps, I guess, kind of drill down the one set of dies that produce these. This 3-coin progression sold for $51.69 with 5 bids. Well done. Now, this is a really tough, difficult date here. 1981 Lincoln Memorial off center by about 15-20%. This is a target of most collectors of this error type by date. This one ended up selling for $102 with 42 bids. And also this 1984 P. Another strong, very tough date. This one does have quite a bit of scratches on the reverse. So it's not a perfect coin, but if a collector was looking for this particular date mint mark, this might be the last resort. And as a result, it did sell for $102 on this particular example. And then finally, we're going to end it off on just a BU roll. 1999 P. Lincoln Memorial Cents. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the big reason why we hold on to our unopened rolls. That's why I always grab 1 or 2 boxes of Lincoln cents every year, and I just sit on them. I have a crap ton of rolls, but this is the main reason why we do this. Now, 1999 is a date where you can find the notoriously tough wide AMs, which in mid-state condition, ungraded, sell for upwards of $200 to $300 as a singular coin. So I could see a lot of the kind of like the wagon wheels moving in people's heads when they look at this. The opportunity exists that you can find a wide AM. All right, it's highly unlikely because they're that scarce, but that's ultimately what gives some of these older rolls a lot of value. Now, 50 cents face value. This one sold for $23.74, and the seller has sold 5 rolls. He is completely sold out of this date of Lincoln's, which is cool. All right, that's why we hold on to them, because there are going to be dates that are going to be worth a ton of money after a while, mainly because there is a variety or error known in this date or that date that'll kind of keep the values really high. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to wrap it up for today's Pocket Change Market Report Saturday edition. It was certainly a pleasure. Again, would love to hear your thoughts. Did you have a favorite this week? I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You know, the usual crap that I like to talk about at the end of every video. I feel like a broken record at this point. But yeah, please do that, and I will love you long time. That's going to go ahead and do it, my Coinaholics. We are discovering together each and every single day. Good luck with your hunts, and I'll talk to you real soon. Take care.